in just 30 short days. It all starts for everyone, and you may want to prepare now. I'm going to share with you exactly what's going on in about a month from now and why you may want to start thinking about this now, because it's going to change in a massive, massive way. Now, super fast here, I have a really quick question for you, and I'd love to hear from you down below in the comment section if you feel like answering this question. Do you feel like the implementation of these tariffs that we've seen so far in 2025 have been showing up in the prices of goods and services out there at the stores? Like when you go out to buy something at the store, do you feel like prices are higher now because of the implementation of the tariffs? Or are you feeling like, nah, prices are just still pretty flat and they haven't really risen a whole lot quite yet? I'm just kind of curious. And again, it's different all across the country. I know with egg prices, again, aside from egg prices, that's not really to do with the tariffs, but rather, I'm kind of curious, aside from that, what are you seeing with prices of everything in the stores right now? Are you feeling like prices are still going up? If it's still difficult out there? Anyway, I'd love to hear from you down below in the comment section, just trying to understand what's going on, again, across the entire country, and to get a big sample size of what you're all experiencing. Anyway, speaking of tariffs, let's quickly talk about this. Obviously, we've heard all about the implementation of the tariffs. One day they're on, one day they're off. One day they're on, one day they're paused. One day they're on, the next day, just kidding, let's pull them all off, right? It's been all over the place. A lot of volatility, a lot of back and forth, a lot of indecision, a lot of uncertainty with everything going on. And like I've been saying for months now, it's all just a big negotiation. Honestly, I don't know. It's been kind of a mess of a negotiation. I mean, I'm not like some master negotiator, but I certainly would be approaching this very differently than how they are actually doing this. I don't think this is honestly the best approach, but this is just what they're doing. So let's talk about it really quickly here. Okay, so obviously back on April 2nd, which was quite a while ago now, we got all the announcements of these massive, massive tariffs, and a lot of these have already been rolled back to a minimum of 10%, and then obviously some big ones that they're still working on now. Okay, doesn't really matter what the percentages are. However, here's the situation. We've been seeing some major disruptions as far as supply chains going as a result of these tariffs, okay? Now, I've been reading a number of different articles and different information that's coming up out there suggesting the number of freighters that have been leaving China that are either very empty or like very minimally stocked with containers, right? So in other words, we get a ton of stuff from China. I don't think that's, a mystery to anybody. We import a ton of stuff from China, right? Well, it takes a couple months for those container ships, basically from the time that they leave China until they get to the ports here, they get unloaded, they get distributed across the country, and all kinds of things like that. So from the time that it leaves there until the time it gets here onto our store shelves, a couple months, give or take a little bit, right? Well, the situation being is, obviously, the tariffs were announced back in April 2nd is when the big tariffs were implemented and were brought on. Okay, well, that's important to understand. Now, here we are in about a month from now, give or take a little bit. So as we roll over to call it June, early-ish June or so, again, give or take a little bit, there's not like one set day out in the future, but rather kind of like a time frame in which. So here's the situation. Obviously, now things have been kind of fine. We've been having normal supply chain. It seems like everything's fine. The stores are stocked shelves and things like that. Things are good. But the situation being is that since April 2nd, we've been seeing the dramatic reduction of freighters leaving China that are actually full of containers, right, as in supply for our store shelves and things like this. Point being is that by the time that we get out to early June or so, that's where we're going to start to see major, major, major disruptions in our supply chain. Again, according to what I've been seeing here, because there's a lot of ships out there that are not bringing anything over here. If we don't have anything, guess what? That means empty store shelves. Now, is it going to be like what we experienced back in 2020, where like every store shelf was empty? Do you remember that? That was super weird. Anyway, that was a super weird time. You go to a store and you're like, there's nothing here. What is going on, right? It's super weird. But anyway, that's kind of a little bit of a situation that we may be dealing with because of all this. Even if they were to resolve the tariffs immediately, which they haven't, but even if they were to resolve all of this and get everything back up and running, there's still likely going to be a lag because it takes time for those freighters to go from China over to the United States across the ocean. However long that takes, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really sure how long it takes. I would imagine at least a few weeks because it's a pretty large distance. But anyway, they have to make it across the ocean, right? And they come over to us. Well, then it takes a lot of time for that to happen. And then obviously to the unloading and the distribution and the across the country on trains and by semi and things like that. There's a lot of steps in the process to get it onto the store shelves where we ultimately are the end consumer. And then we get to take it home again, right? There's a lot of steps in this process. So either way, my point being is why I said at the beginning of the video, you may want to think about preparing now, because if there's a couple things that you need / like are very important to you and that you need for like your whatever, your lifestyle or just things that you need, you may want to start considering, just if it's available now, if you can, you may want to just grab that and just have it on hand. And again, you got to do what's best for you. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh yeah, go buy $1,000 worth of stuff at the store. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm saying like, hey, if there's things that are very important that you need as in necessities and you have availability of them now, it may be prudent of you to maybe grab a little bit and just stick it aside and just make sure that you have that on hand. And again, whatever that thing may be, just to have that, because if we see this major disruption in supply chain, think back to 2020. How long did it take for store shelves and supply chains to be restored? It took a long time, right? I mean, it took a long, long time before you would go into a store and there wasn't a little sign on the shelf that said, 1 per customer or whatever. It took a long time to restore that, because as soon as they'd get any little shipment of anything in, people would buy it right away. They get a shipment of 20 items in and there's demand for 400 of them, they get bought instantly, right? So my point is that it takes a long time to restore that, the inventory on shelves and availability of products, okay? So that's kind of where we're at again right here, right now, is that if these tariffs, I mean, we're already at it. We're already, a month into this whole thing right now. But my point being is that if we continue to persist with these very strict tariffs like this, if this goes on for a bit longer, we could see some major disruptions, even more so than what we're already going to see here with supply chain and availability of products. We're going to see that significantly more severe. Not only that, okay, so this is one part of the equation, right, is the whole supply chain situation and products on our store shelves and whatever. But here's another part that I want to point out as well, which is a lot of the economic data that we've been seeing so far this year has all been pre-announcements of tariffs, at least the major announcements of tariffs back on April 2nd, right? We've been seeing a bunch of different economic data points that are coming out. They all seem pretty decent, like, oh, this is good, the economy's just fine. Because all the data points that we've seen so far are before the implementation of the tariffs, okay? Wait for another month, 2, 3, 4 months when we start to see all this economic data coming out after the implementation of the tariffs. I think we're going to see a major U-turn, a major shifting in a lot of this economic data that's coming out, because all of a sudden it's going to be post announcement of tariffs, and that's where we're going to start to see these economic data numbers coming in a lot worse than what we've seen so far. The numbers that we've seen so far are fine. It's like, January through April numbers. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal yet, because it didn't really include much of the tariffs at all, right? Maybe a little tiny bit, but not much. But once we get into, say, June, July, August, and we get into those months and start to see May, June, July numbers, that's where we're really going to see some major disruptions, which is why also, quick side note here, why also we've been saying for a while now, the second half of the year is when we're likely going to see the major implosion of the overall economy. That's when we're likely going to see the economy get whacked in a huge way, right? Because right now, looks like things are fine. Well, the data coming out is also very lagging. That's the problem. But also, I want to point something out as well. And I've said this before in other videos, which is, does it feel like a recession right now? Just yes or no. Do you think it feels like a recession? Leave me a yes or a no down below in the comment section. Do you think the current environment right now feels like a recession? I don't want to influence your decision. I don't want to influence how you feel about that. But here's the fact. Whether it feels like a recession, yes or no, if it feels like one, then that's the reality for people, okay? It doesn't matter if we technically, on paper, the technical definition of a recession, who cares if we have that or not? If it feels like a recession, if consumers are acting like it's a recession, then it's a recession because it's the reality for those people. It may not be a full-blown recession in the overall economy yet, but for the individuals that believe, hey, this is nasty, we're in a recession, guess what? For them individually, it is a recession. That's the problem. If we get more and more people to be in this position where they're like, this is bad, it's feeling like a recession, the more people that convert to this mindset and this feeling of, this is bad economically, this is not a good situation, this is tough, the more and more people that feel that way, the more the reality sets in that for them personally, it's a recession. Okay, well then what? When we get to a critical mass in the overall population of the country, and the majority of people, or at least, a significant number, it doesn't have to be necessarily a majority, but at least a significant number of people that feel like, hey, it's a recession and it feels real to me, then guess what? That's what happens. It becomes self-fulfilling because then we all start to cut back, spending wanes, and that means businesses need to start cutting. And then when businesses cut, what happens? The economy contracts. When the economy contracts, it just contracts further because when businesses can't employ people, or because they're not making the sales that they need to make the margins and the profits they need to employ the people, then they can't order more product. The suppliers need to cut back. The distributors need to cut back. The salespeople cut back. It's all this big self-fulfilling cycle. Does that kind of make sense? Right? So anyway, this is what's interesting here. So we might have another month of just kind of humming along. No big deal. We all seem totally fine. Wait until we roll into June when we start to see all these economic numbers coming in and when things really start to get nasty pretty fast here. So anyway, just want to point that out for you really quickly. So a couple questions for you being, I mentioned these throughout the video, is do you feel like, for you personally, do you feel like this feels like a recession? Just leave a yes or no down below in the comment section. And question number 2 is, that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which is, do you feel like the tariffs have been implementing price increases? Have you felt the impacts of the tariffs so far on products at your stores when you're out there shopping, right? Have you been feeling the pinch in prices on your store shelves? I'd love to hear from you down below in the comment section. If you feel like sharing, if you don't want to, it's totally fine, okay? I totally respect that. If you don't want to share, totally fine, no big deal. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. Also, if you want a little more certainty right now, check this out right here. Phone number. There you go. Right there. Phone number. I'm serving it to you on a silver platter called my hand on a silver platter right here. Phone number. If you need any help with your Medicare, again, initial enrollment into Medicare, Medicare supplements, Medigap plans, Medicare Advantage, Medicare Part D, whatever it happens to be, call them. Seriously, call them. They are the leading advisors across the country. They're working every single day as they have access to over 20,000 plans. They're helping seniors navigate this every single day to find the best plan at the best price with the best coverages for their personal needs so they can see the doctors or the providers they want to see, be within the networks they want to be within, go to the offices, the clinics they want to go to, the prescription needs if they have any at all. They're looking through all that, finding the best options. And by the way, the average senior that they are working with is saving $1,100 of real money savings for the average senior. That means half the people save more, half the people save less. Obviously, no guarantees. Those are just the averages. That's nuts. That's real money. Anyway, if you're turning 65, if you're retiring, moving across state lines or county lines, please call them. Seriously, they will save you a ton of time, headache, frustration, and hopefully a ton of money as well. Otherwise, please write that phone number down as well right here. Write the phone number down, take a picture, take a screenshot. Remember that number and call them later on in the year. If you don't need help right this minute, at least connect with them later on this year during the annual enrollment. Later on this year, we'll talk about it then as well, and they can help you then too, okay? Please take advantage of this. It's a totally free service. Otherwise, let me ask you a huge favor. Who do you know that needs that information? Friends, family members, neighbors, acquaintances, siblings, co-workers, parents, anybody like that, please share that information with them. Again, this phone number, go ahead and share that with them right there. It'll be an incredibly helpful resource for them. And again, when they save a ton of money and get better coverages, then you get all the credit. They'll come back to you and say, hey, thank you so much. You saved me a ton of money. Anyway, it's awesome. Otherwise, please, if you're new here, if you have not done so, please consider subscribing. It's 100% free to do so. Big subscribe button down below. Please share the video. There's a big share button down below as well. Share the video with your friends on my social media. Thank you. Appreciate it. Otherwise, check out the other 5,000 plus videos here on the channel in the video library. The popular videos I've hand selected for you down below in the description or popping up on your screen in just a minute. You'll see some videos there. Check those out. Otherwise, until next time, have a nice day. I hope I can see you again soon in the next video. And until then, take care.